What up, everybody? Thank you for joining us again. Another smoke session. I'm your boy, Brother Jam.
I'm your boy, about to fall asleep, Black Hand. Brother Los on the cam.
And we are the Daily Smoke. Thank you for joining us once again, as always, on the smoke session.
What's up? What's up?
How y'all been, man?
I'm full, so I'm like, shit.
Bobby over here suffering a severe case of the itis
Hey,
about now.
Right.
But yeah, man, I feel you, dude. It's been a long week. You know what I'm saying?
Eat that crank.
Hey. And look, we give no free advertisements.
You know, right?
Yeah. Matter of fact, if y'all want to check out the website, go to www.thedailysmoke.com, and that's the THA dailysmoke.com. It gives you some of the links to some of the people that we partner with over the course of doing the show. We've gotten made contact with some interesting people and some people who are involved with some really worthy causes. And we like to put their links up on our website, so go check them out. You know, some of them you might want to donate to, some of them you might want to volunteer for. You know, hopefully you might find something that works for you.
But donate to us
at the $ TD Smoke on Cash App. So if you do want to give us a donation, help us do the show, help us, keep getting better, because I hope y'all appreciate the effort that we're putting into the show and trying to make it look more professional and everything. So please, if you have it in your heart and have it in your budget, please drop a few dollars at our Cash App. And if you can't donate, hey, that's cool. Hit the like, hit the share, and hit the subscribe button, and keep watching us, because it's only going to get better from here. On that note, I want to talk about Loki.
You want to talk about the Go Fuck Yourself episodes? That's what it really is. But still.
I mean, okay. Well-established fact that Loki is a narcissist. So, what more sense does it make that he would fall in love with himself? A version of himself.
That's it.
And of course, that version of himself would love him back.
We just found that one version that we just found of him. So anyway,
I mean, she was cute. She wasn't a beauty in my opinion, but she was, as they say, a handsome woman. But
okay.
Loki, number 2, was played by Tom Hiddleston, of course. Same Loki from all the other Marvel movies, Avengers and Thor's and all of those other movies. And
the God of Mischief.
He does an awesome job, as always, of playing this role. He's just really, I mean, he has the face for it, the character for it. He's animated enough to be an interesting Loki, but he's not over the top. But he has
he did a great job.
He has a great, like, that arrogant tone that he's able to get. Mm-hmm. It's like totally believable. But at the same time, you still really don't hate him. He's an arrogant asshole, but you kind of like him.
Arrogant, narcissistic asshole. But go ahead.
Hey, I mean, I at least I like Loki. I can't. Maybe I'm speaking for myself.
Loki.
But of course, the gist of the show is that you have the scene in Endgame, where the Avengers travel back in time to try to recover the Tesseract. And so what eventually happens is that they drop the Tesseract. Loki, in that timeline, picks it up, and he uses it to escape. Well, when he does that, that apparently upsets an organization called the TVA, if you can bring up number 3. And this is the Time Variance Authority.
Authority. I'm sorry.
Authority. They're basically time cops. And what it is that you have a sacred timeline. If you go to number 4, Lowe's, that has been determined to be the most productive and peaceful timeline that there is. And so anytime something happens that branches off of this designated timeline, this sacred timeline, then you have the TVA, they go out and they prune that branch timeline. So they basically keep it as one. And if you jump to number 5, Los,
Kind of one timeline.
This is what the branch timeline looks like. So essentially, all of those offshoots off the main beam right there, those would be pruned by the TVA. They would go in and they have a way of cutting off those timelines to where they're dead ends.
And
so if you step out of line according to what the sacred timeline is supposed to be, then they come get you. And that's what happens to Loki. Him taking the Tesseract and running like he did, it created a branch timeline, and they can't have that.
Variant.
So they come in and they arrest him as a variant. Basically, he's an offshoot of himself who's deviated from the sacred timeline.
Variation or variant.
So
you want to call it.
He goes into the TVA kind of processing, because he's basically been arrested by the time cops, and they take his clothes off, rip all his clothes off with laser beams.
Well, no, I guess he said these are sacred, Asgardian clothing, the finest.
No, he said it was he was like, be gentle. He's like, this is fine Asgardian leather, and then it's like I said, and laser beam that shit right off him.
Butt naked.
But so then when he gets processed, they take him basically into a courtroom, and that courtroom is where he runs it. Oh, and I'm sorry, he did meet Miss Minute. That was her name. Number 6, Los. And she's this little like holographic clock person. Yeah, looks like an emoji kind of, but she's this little holographic clock creature entity, and you kind of don't know if she's just a program or if it's somehow like sentient, because it seems like it could be either one.
Yeah, I think it was a scene. He was sitting at Loki was sitting at a desk, and you had the clock, and he took up with a magazine or something and was swinging at it to try to determine, are you just reacting, or you a program of this? And it was reacting like it was sentient. So
it dodged and ducked and then hid back in the computer screen.
Yeah,
like it jumped in the computer screen where it's like, okay, you can't get me here, nigga. And she was like, how rude. But
we get into that in the future.
So once he gets processed into the TVA, he goes before the judge, and the judge actually, if you could, Lo, skip to number 9 for me. The judge is Ravonna Renslayer.
Cutie.
Played by and now, okay, this is an African name, and I admit I may not be the best when it comes to pronunciation on this, but her first name is spelled Gugu, and I don't know any other way to pronounce that other than Gugu.
Gugu Ra.
So her name is Gugu Mbatha Ra.
Gugu Ra. So
I apologize, Miss Mbatha Ra, if I'm saying your first name absolutely horribly. So if you by some chance happen to see this, I'm sorry. But I tried my best. So
come on the show and correct us.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh man,
y'all know how to act, man.
That would be nice. So okay. Anyway, so they go. So the judge basically goes and decides to tell Loki that he's going to be sentenced to what they call being reset.
Yeah, they're gonna reset him.
They're gonna reset him, which basically means you get disintegrated. And so when they tell him that, at the very last second, you have a dude who stands up in the courtroom, number 7, and he's walks up to the judge, and basically he makes a deal for Loki to be spared.
Yeah, so Mr. Mobius.
So he can
Mobius, right?
Yeah, Mobius, right. Played by Owen Wilson.
And the character's actual name is Mobius M. Mobius. That's his actual name.
Owen Wilson, good actor.
Yeah. Now he was really good in this role because he wasn't. To me, Owen Wilson makes better supporting characters than he does like lead characters. A lot of movies that he's done when he's the lead, I get tired of him real quick. But when he's in movies like this, or in shows like this where he's a supporting role, yeah, he shines. He was really good in this role. He plays the investigator for the TVA, who they're hunting another variant of Loki, who's like ambushing their people and like taking their equipment.
Yeah, wasn't his branch of where they the dangerous variants? He hunt down some of the most dangerous variants.
Yeah, I think they did say he had he was a part of some kind of special division that does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was kind of like the unpredictable cop, using a crazy idea to try to hunt down his prey. So basically, he pulls this Loki aside and tries to use him to understand how the other Loki might be thinking, and that's how the two of them start to actually become kind of a build a bit of a friendship. But both of them know that each one is trying to use the other. Neither one of them stupid. So there's a limit to how far they actually do trust each other. But it's like, okay, I need you. And Loki's, of course, like, well, I'm stuck kind of right here because they put a collar on him that keeps him from being able to use his magic. So he's stuck. So he's just like, okay, well, if I work with you, I might be able to find a way to, get out. So Loki's decided that's what he's shooting for.
Oh, and also they had a nice little neat device that I found interesting. The rewind, but not even rewind. It's like a loop or a reset button. You try to run forward, you get looped back to the same spot that you started from.
You can just hit one button and you try to move. Like he kept trying to get up from one chair and like do something to Mobius, and he was just like every time Mobius felt threatened, he just hit rewind on the nigga. He was just right back in his seat.
That'd be fucked up.
Oh, dude. And you could tell Loki was getting pissed. And then at one point, he got mad and threw the chair. And then he did something, and Mobius hit that button again, and he got slammed into the floor. He was like, hey, I'm sorry. It resets you, not the furniture. So it's like you threw the chair, so,
You fucked up my office, man.
You took your own seat.
Yeah, right.
But so he gets into the TVA, and he's working with Mobius Mobius is trying to pick his brain, I should say, to try to hunt down this other Loki that is, like I said, ambushing their people, stealing their equipment, and because they have these bombs, these kind of like
reset bombs,
that they use to reset branch timelines. And essentially what they do is they set it off, and it transports all the matter from that timeline, however far it may have developed by the time they got to it,
and
it transfers it to a void at the end of time.
Oh, yeah.
So there's actually this void, this limitless space. So they just send extra shit from timelines that they're destroying to this place.
We need that with the garbage that we have on here in Earth. So anyway.
Well, and then one of the videos that I was watching doing like the breakdowns of the episodes, they even showed where they showed a pile of trash that was from the TVA cafeteria. Right. So the TVA had been using it as a dumping ground.
Hey, if you got it.
I mean, it's efficient.
Yeah,
it's still Earth.
It's efficient, And it's not, and since it's a void at the end of time, it doesn't hurt anything. But yeah, so that's when you get this whole propaganda video that they show him about like the timekeepers who are the ones that are supposed to be guardians of the sacred timeline, and they're the ones who started the TVA, and they created these people who work for the TVA to do this work, and that's their grand purpose, to keep the sacred timeline and all of this.
Yeah, because weren't they the ones who actually restored the sacred timeline after like a time war or something like
Yeah,
that?
there were supposedly there were competing timelines that were all started warring with each other for dominance, and so what you had was just like decades or eons really of war, and so basically these timekeepers came out of nowhere to decide that no, we're gonna cut off all these branches on the timeline, and we're going to stick with one main timeline to keep things simple and peaceful.
Yeah.
And so that's how the TVA was born, or that's the myth of how the TVA was born. I should say. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, there's that part. Okay. No, we got some of the Loki like breakdown videos and stuff playing in the background as we're talking about this. Just
Easter eggs,
some
things like that.
might remind us of some important things we want to mention as we talking about it.
Oh, you were talking about the timekeeper. I think that was like number 11.
Yeah, the timekeepers were number 11, and then that was the animated propaganda video that Loki had to watch. But then the actual timekeepers was number 12. That's what they look like in the actual show. But those turned out to be fakes. They were actually robots. But okay, so as he's working with the TVA, he's basically learning how to how they operate. And one of the people that he winds up dealing with is who was actually one of the people responsible for capturing Loki in the first place. Is number 13, Hunter B15, because most of the people in like the rank and file, the soldiers, I should say, in the TVA, the regular rank and file guys, they're called the Minutemen, and they don't have names; they have numbers. So she was Hunter B15, played by an actress, and again I apologize. Her name is Wunmi Mosaku, if I'm saying that right. So Wunmi Mosaku, Mosaku. So yeah. Actually, I've seen her in quite a few other things. There was a show on. It was on Hulu, and it was about. I think it was called Life After Death, and it was about a zombie plague that took over like parts of Europe. And what wound up happening is these zombies were able to be cured. Like they found a cure for them. There was a certain injection that they could take that if you gave it to them on a regular basis, they were able to, like, their memories and everything came back, their humanity came back.
It sounds familiar.
They still would have like slight cravings for human flesh, so that's why they had to take the medicine like regularly. But their skin was real pale, and their eyes were like icy blue. Everybody who was an undead, and so now like these people was being incorporated back into society. But the main character was a dude who came back from the dead, but he had committed suicide, and his family was like just torn because of course he had killed himself in the first place. But it was messed up because, well, okay, I'm not gonna.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show. But it's a really interesting show. So if you get a chance to check it out, I want to say I watched it on Hulu, and it was called, I think it was Life After Death. It's a British show. Okay. And the zombies in this show are able to be cured. But this same actress who played Hunter B15, she played a politician in that show, and she was a mean bitch in that show. Like you watch that show and you didn't like her, but she's a really good actress. So I've seen her in quite a few things. But yeah.
All right, back to the show.
But then
Loki.
we get introduced eventually to the other variant of Loki that they are hunting, which is a female version of Loki, number 14. But she actually doesn't like to be called Loki. She goes by the name Sylvie. And that's played by an actress called Sophia Di Martino. Sophia Di Martino. She's actually, honestly, I think she was a great match for Tom Hiddleston as far as being like a female version of Loki.
The one he wanted to fuck himself for. That'd be a good variant.
She had a good match as far as the wit and the smart aleckiness. She was quick. She could fight. She could do dope ass magic because she could enchant people and control their minds. That shit was cool. Like, so she had a good power range, and she had a good personality as far as the way she played the character. So kudos to Sophia Di Martino because she actually did a really good job.
Nice.
Yeah. Then we had Sylvie and 13 was Sylvie and Loki together. And they were just I think that scene was from when they were in the train.
Yeah, that's the scene. They was on a. I'm trying to remember the name of. It was a what they call a Nexus event or a apocalyptic event.
Right. That's when they were trying to hide it, still trying to hide an apocalypse. So okay,
we got to explain the apocalyptic events.
So this part of the show I thought was pretty cool because essentially the reason they hadn't been able to find Sylvie, this variant of Loki, was because she had figured out a way to hide in apocalypses. So essentially, anytime she would go into a timeline, her presence would cause a time period. And so the TVA would instantly know where she is.
Yeah.
So what she figured out is if she went someplace where everything was finna be wiped out anyway, it wouldn't, nothing she did would create a branch.
She can do anything
she could live, and exist for a little while as long as she stayed close to close to these apocalyptic events, like a volcano erupting in Pompeii and stuff like that. Things where just everybody got wiped out. She could hang around those kind of spots. So
the shit was fucking up anyway.
Right, but she was.
Her.
But you got to realize though, she had been running from the TVA since she was a child. She had got taken from her branch timeline when she was a kid. They were gonna kill kids essentially in the TVA.
You're a variant, so
if you're a variant, you could get it. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can get it. But okay, now, this character was a bit of a bit role, but there was a reason I had to give this character a special shout out. So if you go to number 16, Hunter C20. Now, this character, she did play kind of a minor role. She was one of the ones that Sylvie mind controlled her to get some information about the timekeeper. And
Sarah Lane?
Yeah.
That's her name. So.
Right. And so she had a bit of a bit of an elevated role. She wasn't just a bit character in the background. But what I found out when I was researching this is she's from Houston.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she's a Houston girl. So, yeah, I had to give a special shout out to Sasha Lane. Houston native. Thank you. You did a wonderful job in the show. Hopefully we will get to see you more in the MCU. Who knows? Maybe they'll one day figure out how to give you some superpowers. Because you were good.
Figure out how to get you here with us.
Join us.
Oh, yeah. Hey, if you want to come talk about it, we'd love to hear about your experience in working on Loki and any other things that you might have coming up. So, hey, in case you check this out, holla at us.
All right, let's keep going.
But so, what winds up happening, because I'm going to TLDR this, is essentially the two Lokis, the Loki that we know, and Sylvie, wind up jumping through a few different timelines running from the TVA. Eventually, they wind up getting stuck though because they almost got caught because she had figured out a brilliant plan on how to like try to take down the TVA.
Oh yeah, by stealing some of the reset bombs and had them planted into like something like the main timeline or something, or trying to take down have the bomb what.
She basically set these bombs to all go off at different places along the sacred timeline where it would create multiple branches all at once. More than the TVA could handle all at one time. And so basically she tried to blow up the sacred timeline and almost succeeded, but they managed to bring it back under control just barely. But
with a scuffle between Loki and Sylvie, they ended up on, as I said, the train scene and a picture. I mean, on a planet that was doomed because the moon that was like a moon, or it's like two moons that are about to collapse together.
no,
Because they kept saying moon,
the moon of the planet was crashing into the planet.
but the planet that you're on, they kept saying we're on this moon. So I'm thinking,
I mean, it might have been
a colonized,
Yeah,
two
I
moons
don't
crashing.
remember the exact, but I remember them saying that a moon was crashing into it. So basically, this planet was about to be destroyed, and they tried everything they could to get off that planet, but all their plans failed. But then they started to kind of fall in love with each other and almost had a moment where they were about to kiss, and that in and of itself created such a time variant that even though they were at an apocalyptic event, the TVA could see it.
It's pretty much the saying "go f yourself" that they was about to do. Because remember, these are pretty much it's the same person, just a variation.
But they're different people, man.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier.
Because Sylvie was way older than him. Because you got to remember, she had been running from the TVA for at least from what they were saying, like a couple of 100 years.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. But if you had a variation of yourself, you thought it was fine. Would you f yourself?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna fuck myself.
Because I said earlier,
If he fine,
dude. If nothing else,
he fine. Yeah, he get.
dude. If nothing else, I know this. Even the female version of me is gonna be a freak. So it's gonna be,
You know what I'm saying?
no matter what, it's finna be on.
He's about to get still.
All the nasty shit I've ever wanted to do, man. Like, oh, you wanted to do that too? Yes, motherfucker.
Oh.
Do that shit now.
See me. That's see me.
See me?
See me.
Hey, man. I'm on board with it. So I don't see why people tripping.
Just don't get yourself pregnant.
If I met a female version of me that was attractive, I'd fuck me.
Just don't get yourself pregnant and do child support. So
How you gonna collect child support from another timeline?
they'll find a way.
Going on home.
They'll find a way.
Going on back to your timeline now.
You gonna end up in West Virginia timeline.
It's the backwoods of Arkansas.
Welcome, boy. Well, all right, let's keep going.
But they
Sister mother.
so they
Sister mother. That's effed up.
man, don't get me started on brother cousins and all of that. Oh shit, I could tell some stories. But anyway, I know some people, dude. This shit's crazy. But anyway,
That'll be another show.
no, that's not gonna be. I'm not gonna put people business out like that.
You don't have to say his name.
But okay. So So all that said to be done. So they get captured by the TVA because they create that time variation when they about to make out. So so they get captured and what was it? So our regular Loki gets reset by Ravonna. Ravonna's Ren
Well, she got pruned. Well, he got pruned, brother.
You know what they call it? Pruning.
Yeah,
pruning,
he got
reset, yeah, same thing. But he got pruned by Renslayer.
Yeah.
So she pruned him. Now, you thinking, of course, that he was dead, but that's when you find out that the things that they pruned do go to this void at the end of time. And so he wakes up in this void where it's like half destroyed buildings, all kinds of trash and debris, ships, all of this stuff is just lying around.
The thing
So
of cap,
every
thing of
timeline that they prune, the matter, because of course laws of physics say you can't be created or destroyed. It can just be changed, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just destroy a whole timeline. The stuff in it has to go somewhere, and it all goes to this void at the end of space. But the thing about it is that when you get to this void, of course, not everything there is dead. And the first thing he meets is some versions of himself. If you go to actually number
18.
number 19.
Oh, 19.
He meets them first.
Right. So these three Lokis are the ones that are standing over him when he wakes up in this void at the end of time. And you have the one in the old fashioned yellow and green costume. They call him Classic Loki, Kid Loki, and then that other Loki. I mean, he doesn't really have a designation as far as I was able to see, but I just called him Black Loki because
He did some dude.
they did make a comparison based on his clothes, but I don't think
That was a white dude.
Yeah, that was a really evil white dude, and he didn't seem like that same kind of character.
But I like
But
Classic Loki.
I will say Black Loki because he was the only Black Loki.
Black Loki.
You know, and come on, y'all could have done like a couple, like even done maybe a Black female Loki.
Hey,
you know,
but they also had a Gator Loki. So
They did, yeah, but okay,
Gate.
you know,
Animal.
could we have gotten a Pakistani Loki?
you might be
You know,
one out there.
something. But okay,
Red Dot Loki.
Red Dot.
so
Red Dot Loki.
Red Dot Loki. That's fucked
Yeah,
up, Loki.
repeat that shit, right?
Okay. Anyway, so he meets that group of Lokis once he gets to this void at the end of time, and they basically try to help him survive in this wasteland, essentially, because along with all the debris from all the different timelines, there's something there that eats the debris from all these different timelines. And if you could drop to 22 for me, Los, that's Alowith, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Alowith, and he's like this giant smoke energy monster that exists in this void at the end of time, and he consumes the matter that's there, which could include living people, buildings,
Whatever.
equipment, all of that kind of stuff. So, he's just there. He's the garbage disposer.
Yeah, I was about to say the cleanup crew.
Yeah,
The cleanup crew.
at the end of time. So, as he's trying to convince these other three Lokis, four Lokis, because the Gator Loki is with them. As he's trying to convince these other four Lokis to try to help him find a way to get back, Sylvie is trying to figure out a way to get Loki back, or get to where Loki is, or get to the person who's still running the TVA. And she winds up coming up with the best plan of she prunes herself
Yeah.
when she finds out about the void at the end of space, because she realizes that that's the only way
To get to him.
to be able to not only get to Loki, but to get to the person who's the originator of all this, the TVA, the sacred timeline, and all of that.
Yeah, because I think with the timekeepers, going through the show, spoiler if you haven't watched it, but the timekeepers that we showed earlier are fakes. They're just robots, androids, or whatever. They're fakes.
Yeah. So that whole myth about the timekeepers coming in and saving the timeline was BS.
Yeah.
But in the process of trying to get those guys to work with him, they wind up getting attacked by another group of Lokis led by President Loki, which is the number 18.
President Loki.
And so all these different versions of Loki basically are working together, and they're kind of like a gang, and they come in and try to take over because Kid Loki is actually the leader of their little group. So he's actually their leader, and they try to come in and take over his territory. And it turns out that the Black Loki was actually a traitor, and he was working with President Loki.
I do like the Loki with the as far as the horns, you can with the
Bicycle handlebars. Yeah.
Like they got it from that trash and shit.
Hey, you got to make your horns. You got to make them out of something.
But you're a Loki, you gotta have horns, okay?
You got one with spoons and forks and shit using those. Hey, I like them.
But then, so Loki and Sylvie wind up because when Sylvie does prune herself, she winds up going to the boy. Mm-hmm. Her and Loki wind up finding each other, and they find Aloith, and they're gonna try and
kill it.
Basically, she, like I said, she has that enchantment power where she can control people's minds. Mm-hmm. So she wants to try and enchant Aloith to see if she can get past it to get to the person running everything.
The end of time.
And so, past the end of time, because they're already at the end of time. So she basically, they basically using their abilities kind of like distract the monster. Loki tries to distract the monster while she tries to enchant it, but that doesn't work. Loki's not a big enough target. But then classic Loki comes in at the last minute, and he summons an entire hologram, or I don't want to say hologram, illusion. That's what I was trying to think of. He summons an entire illusion of Asgard. And actually, if you go back to 22 Los, that's Aloith, that green light that's under him is him biting through one of the illusion buildings. Essentially, every time he would get close to him, the buildings would just start to disappear. And so the monster was actually getting frustrated because he wanted to eat the goddamn buildings, and they kept like fading away as he approached them. So it was interesting seeing Aloith get frustrated in the process of doing that.
Well, classic Loki is, as far as I understand, as far as magic-wise, it's probably the strongest out the group.
Right, because he spent years just using nothing but his magic. He didn't believe in it. Matter of fact, he says it in the show that he didn't believe in using weapons because they took away from his focus on his magical abilities. So he survived on his magic alone. And so he was the best spellcaster out of the Lokis that were there, probably.
Yeah, for him to do that one, that was a nice feat to do.
But they finally do manage to enchant Aloith, and when they do, he kind of dissipates, and when he spreads apart or dissipates into the atmosphere, you see on the other side like an opening, like a rip in space, and in there's like a fortress with like a light beam,
light tower.
Light tower. That's what I'm trying to think of. But a light tower at the middle of this fortress, and so they start going. They walk through the opening in space and get to this fortress at the end of everything. And
here where it gets interesting.
Who do they find waiting on them at this fortress? And if you haven't watched it yet, this is major spoiler alert. So it's on you if you want to continue. But they do find Kang the Conqueror, being played by Jonathan Majors. Actually, and I have to say,
no relations.
He is one of my favorite. He is quickly becoming one of my favorite actors, dude. Because he was also in Lovecraft Country. Remember I was telling y'all about that show?
Yeah.
And yeah, Ron watched that one and he really really enjoyed it because when I'm telling you, man, it's that show gives you everything. And Jonathan Majors, he does a good job in that show too. But he was an amazing Kang the Conqueror. Oh, dude, he was eating them lines up. When I'm telling you, when he was like, they kept attacking him, trying to, physically harm him.
Hey,
And he was like, I'm telling you, I know everything you're gonna do. I've seen it all. I've done it all. And they was like, nah, you got a little time pad there. So it's like,
no.
yeah, I got a time pad, but how did I know how to program it to move me around every time you get ready to attack me?
Because he even showed them. It was like, this is everything you're about to do.
He literally pulled a printout out of everything that they were saying up until that moment, and like even going past
beyond
it.
that. So
Like, no, I literally know everything you're gonna say. He was like, everything you did, everything y'all went through to get here. He said, I laid the path. Y'all wound up here because I wanted you here. He said, because I've been looking for somebody to pass this off on. I'm tired of it. I'm done. And now this is where you get a glimpse of how powerful Kang the Conqueror is and what kind of danger he represents, because he explains to them why he's there and how he wound up being where he is. Basically, at some point, a version of him was just a regular human on Earth, living, I think he said like 2130 something.
yeah,
And
something
so
like that.
he had figured out time travel. But at the same time he was figuring it out, alternate timeline versions of him was also figuring it out. And in that process, they met each other.
It was peaceful at first.
And they was like so like all like geeked. Hey man, you figured out time travel, I figured out time travel. Let's talk about this, see what the fuck's going on, and try to figure out how this shit actually all works out. And for a time, they were working with each other. It was cool. They were sharing knowledge. But just like anything else, not every version from every timeline of him was altruistic and kind and open-hearted. Some of them wanted to use their newfound abilities and their newfound knowledge, since they were all sharing so much knowledge, to try and conquer or take over or manipulate and do things. And so you wind up essentially what over the course of thousands and thousands of years wind up becoming like timeline wars, because this dude, different versions of this guy Kang, throughout all of these different timelines, were just essentially fighting each other over dominance in these different, branching timelines.
My timeline is better than yours.
And the Kang who we see in the show is the Kang who just so happened to come out on top. And his best idea for stopping all of the fighting was to keep the timeline simplified to one beam, one branch, and allow no other versions of himself to exist. And as long as he could keep that, there would be peace, because he's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, this nigga ruined the multiverse. But he basically gives Loki and Sylvie a choice. He's like, y'all can take it over, and you can become the new, power behind the everything, and you can run it however you see fit. He said, or you can kill me. He said, but if you kill me, you break the timeline. He's like, and I guarantee you, everything that I've told you about what happened with me before will happen again.
And you don't want to mess with some of the other variants. It was like, this is something out there that's worse than me right now.
You're right.
You don't want
There are
that.
some versions of him that even he's like scared of.
So you're like, you don't want that. So it's up to you. No choice.
So bottom line is that when it came down to it, even though Loki tried to talk her out of it, because he's like, we need to think about this. This is like, a huge decision. All Sylvie could think about was she just wanted revenge, because this was basically the person who was responsible for stealing her entire life from her. Yeah. So it was one of those situations where she could see past her own vengeance, and she winds up killing him. And when she does,
mistake.
Dude, the thing about it that was so cool is he was smiling when he was dying. She stabbed him completely through, so she ran him all the way through. So he was smiling while he was dying, and he was laughing, and he said, hey,
I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon. Because he already knows what's finna happen. So that was like
And then you see the main branch just starts splitting off in all different directions.
Going crazy
The
because
multiverse has just got created.
yeah, without him, he was the linchpin holding the sacred timeline together. But without him, it basically broke. And now this was the beginning of the multiverse
in the MCU.
MCU.
Spider-Man to all of it.
WandaVision primed you for it. Loki brought it to fruition. See, and that's the brilliance of what Marvel does with their storytelling. And because they're letting their stories being told on such a big scale over multiple movies and series, they're able to tell you this story in stages in such a way that if you're following along with everything, you start to get the real big picture. So in Wanda, they introduced you to the idea of a multiverse by introducing you to Nexus beings and pocket dimensions, because that's essentially what Wanda created was a pocket dimension when she made that town, or when she took over that town, I should say. But all of that being said, they introduced that concept in WandaVision, and then boom, what do we have? We have a multiverse. And then right after the Loki series finished, what got announced? A new Doctor Strange movie at the time coming out.
Actually, before the new Doctor Strange movie, we had another little quick midget of the multiverse, and that was Spider-Man.
Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah, when you see it at the very end,
the whole movie is really because you got the three different versions of Spider-Man. You got the villains from all the different from the other movies. So yeah, it was really. I forgot about that though. Yeah, but that really was our first foray into a fully realized Marvel movie with multiversal plots, essentially. And so now these other characters that have existed in the Sony films now exist in the MCU. This is how we get X-Men in the Marvel MCU movies.
And Fantastic Four, but I'm hearing that they're trying to do. They're still trying to really bring in the mutants because even though I haven't watched Multiverse of Madness, but I know I do know there is a cameo from Professor X, the Illuminati. And do you know the members of the Illuminati?
Hold on. Sorry about that.
Throwing COVID everywhere.
Some water went down wrong.
Well, you have what? Professor X, Reed Richards, Namor.
Yeah.
Two more.
Well, Doctor Strange was a member.
What? Well,
Tupac too.
not no Tupac.
Tony Stark.
Oh, Tony Stark.
You said Reed Richards, didn't you?
Yeah, Reed Richards, Namor, Tony Stark, Professor X, and I think there's one or
Was
two.
it Dr. Doom?
I'm not quite sure.
Because I remember it was the smartest people, essentially.
It might be.
I've forgotten all the roster members of
The Illuminati.
The Illuminati, but they do make an appearance apparently in Doctor Strange 2, which I haven't seen yet. So we'll be when we do get the chance to go see it, though, we're gonna definitely talk to y'all about it. So we'll be doing a show on that when we get the chance to.
Not spoiler.
Right? we don't have a problem with spoiling shit. So we'll definitely let you know.
Right. So what y'all are your closing remarks on Loki?
Go ahead, brother.
I would give this one. They went as far as the acting, the writing, and the way they put it together. Even though it was only 6 episodes,
Right.
I give it about a good solid. I give it a good solid 4. It was enjoyable.
5.
Yeah, 4 out of 5. It was enjoyable.
That was cool.
See, I really WandaVision was for me a 4, just because. Well, there was just some things about it I had a hard time swallowing.
3.5 to 4.
But I can confidently give Loki a 5, because to me, Loki, Tom Hiddleston is a fantastic actor. I couldn't imagine anybody else playing Loki but him. Then to compare him with the chick playing Sylvie, great pairing of two actors who complemented each other real well.
They look like brother and sister in real life.
Right, you know, and then the story that they told with this, and they managed to do a good job of telling the story in just 6 episodes. Yeah. Like, you told a very complex story in just 6 episodes. That's a lot of ground to cover, dude. Like, I would have a hard time trying to even just talk about cover that much ground in 6 episodes, much less trying to act it all out with special effects and everything else. Oh my God.
Yeah, I see where you put it up though. It would give you the 5.
So in my
book,
book,
the same thing with Moon Knight. So it was like, yeah. So.
Exactly. So in my opinion, yeah, they did a top-notch job with that. I give them a 5 on Loki. And I mean, it introduced us to the multiverse concept, which, like I said, is going to be what leads us forward as far as Marvel and the MCU is concerned, as far as what they're going to do. So now, with the acquisition that Disney had of Fox, as well as Marvel itself, they have now access to a lot of these characters. So now we can have mutants in the MCU again, whereas before we couldn't because of the licensing rights. But now those are all under one umbrella now. So
I would love that. Is like, where the fuck was they? These motherfuckers been fighting all this shit. Where the mutants at? Where ain't taking them along?
I would love to see Deadpool finally really in the MCU. So that, you know.
But I consider Deadpool to be in the MCU. I know
he's still Sony's property.
I understand. But in my mind, I just consider him a part of the MCU.
All another mission.
Yeah, he's just the rated R version of the MCU.
And I'm hearing things that they want to do. We're thinking about giving Juggernaut his own little spinoff.
Juggernaut, bitch.
It's so much. Juggernaut, bitch.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
But no, they have so much. They have so much to play with now. Because I already know they're trying to really come out with Fantastic Four, and that actually kind of will tie into Kang the Conqueror if they do.
True. Because he was always one of their big villains.
Yeah.
And if y'all want to know what we was laughing at, go on YouTube and just type Juggernaut, bitch.
Yeah.
You'll find it funny.
Juggernaut, bitch.
So what y'all got coming up?
We have. Oh,
drum roll, please.
Don't you know I've been drinking and smoking? No.
You got drank and smoked.
Hey, shit. You from? Okay, so we're probably going to be talking about coming up here soon. For those of y'all who keep up with it, a little bitty show on Netflix called Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The season 3 just came out. As a matter of fact, just came out yesterday when we are filming this. So we're filming this on the 21st. So it just came out. But yeah, haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Looking forward to watching season 3. Love season 1. Season 2 was So, but hey, everything.
There were some good ones.
Right, there were some good ones, but everything can't be, just stellar. So I'm hoping they come back at us with some real winners in season 3. So we'll be looking forward to talking about that. And we're also going to talk about the next Marvel series, which is going to be What If. And of course, if y'all know anything about that, if y'all have had the chance to watch it, that covers so much ground. We might have to go episode by episode on that one.
Yeah, we have
just to do it justice. But we're gonna have to keep it tight. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about that. So be looking forward to that, and hopefully y'all will join us again when we get ready to do the next smoke session. Again, as always, if you want to know what's coming up, check us out on the website www.thedailysmoke.com, and that's the THA dailysmoke.com. And if you want to donate to help us out, you want to, be the reason that our show is able to do even more than what we've already been able to accomplish, then donate to our Cash App at $TB Because, like we say all the time, this is the People's Podcast. We're doing this for you. So if you want to help us keep doing this for you, go ahead and hit up that Cash App, please. And we'll take anything that you're willing to give. But if you have, let's be realistic. Modern times is hard. If you can't donate, then hit that like, hit that share, and hit that subscribe button, and keep watching. So please join us again next time we get ready to do another smoke session. I'm your boy, Brother Jam.
I'm your boy Blackhead.
For the low summer camp.
And we are the Daily Smoke. Thank you for joining us for another smoke session. We are out. Peace.
Ever.
Peace. Free time.